In the candlelit corridors of China's Forbidden City, whispers spoke of one woman who demanded a new lover every night, and a corpse by morning. Her name was Wu Zetian, the only female emperor in Chinese history. To love her was to gamble with death. The camera drifts through red silk curtains. You hear the faint footsteps of eunuchs, the distant toll of a bronze bell. Somewhere in the darkness, a young court official is being led toward the Empress's private chambers. He has been chosen, an honor that few survive. You see the fear in his eyes as he kneels before the lacquered doors carved with golden phoenixes. Behind them, the scent of sandalwood mixes with something metallic, something final. Historians say these rituals were not about pleasure, but power. You step inside the room. The air is thick with incense. Silk screens flicker with the shadows of attendants moving silently in the background. The Empress sits beneath a canopy embroidered with dragons. Her gaze, sharp, unreadable, fixes on you. Wu Zetian ruled during the Tang dynasty, between 690 and 705 AD. She began as a concubine to Emperor Taizong, but through cunning and ambition, rose to become the first and only woman ever to claim the title of emperor in her own right. Court records describe her as a woman of limitless intellect and boundless cruelty. But cruelty was not her weapon of choice. Control was. Every night young men were selected to attend her, supposedly to entertain, to massage, to read poetry. But each morning, the palace physicians would report a body carried away, throat slit or neck broken. No one dared to ask why. You see the Empress watching, calm and still. Every smile she gives is a test, every gesture a command. Around her, a circle of eunuchs record every movement, every breath. Historians believe these nightly rituals served a deeper purpose, eliminating threats. Wu Zetian's reign was surrounded by plots and betrayals. Lovers could be spies, poets could be assassins. The bedchamber for her was both a throne and a trap. According to court historian Li Zhao, one favored official named Zhang Yizhi rose to power as her companion, until whispers reached her that he had betrayed her confidence. Within hours, both Zhang and his brother were strangled with silk cords. Their bodies were never buried in imperial soil. Silk, elegant, silent, and royal. It left no marks. You can almost hear the hiss of fabric as it tightens around a man's throat, the faint gasp before silence, the echo of footsteps leaving the room. No blood, no screams. Only the quiet dignity of death that matched the perfection of the court. The Forbidden City becomes a living organism, its corridors whispering rumors, its courtyards feeding on secrets. Every servant who stepped through the gates of Wu Zetian's court understood that they were always being watched. Her network of spies stretched across the empire. Eunuchs, ladies-in-waiting, even monks. Court documents discovered in the Ziji Tongjian, the great chronicle of Chinese history, reveal that the Empress used psychological punishment as often as physical. Those who disobeyed her weren't always executed. Some were forced to kneel for days in silence, surrounded by portraits of those who had been executed before them. They were told to reflect until their heart becomes clear. Few ever stood up again. You walk down one of these echoing corridors. The stone floor is cold beneath your feet. On the walls, painted eyes seem to follow you. Somewhere, a woman weeps softly behind a curtain. Wu Zetian mastered something that modern psychologists would later call behavioral control, through ritualized fear. When a minister displeased her, she didn't summon executioners. She invited him to the Hall of Self-Reflection. Inside, there were no guards, no chains, only a table, a brush, and a sheet of paper. The accused was ordered to write his confession voluntarily. Refusal meant disgrace. Compliance meant death anyway, but through the illusion of honor. Imagine sitting in that room, the silence pressing on your chest. Every brushstroke could be your last. You write not to survive, but to die beautifully. And that was her genius. Wu Zetian didn't need to kill to make others fear her. She made them destroy themselves in her name. Among the many legends surrounding her reign, one stands out. A room deep within the palace that was sealed after her death. Servants called it the Chamber of Everlasting Silence. It was said that Wu Zetian used it to punish courtiers who lied to her. They weren't executed, merely locked inside, surrounded by murals of the Empress's face. Food was delivered once a day through a narrow slot. There was no light, no speech, no sound. You can almost hear it. The slow scraping of a bowl on the floor, the creak of a door, that never opens. The echo of breathing in total darkness. Modern historians remain divided. Some say the chamber was metaphorical, a symbol of her power over memory. Others believe it truly existed beneath her private quarters in Luoyang Palace, where a sealed underground hall was discovered in the 20th century, covered in faded paintings of a woman's face. In 705 AD, Wu Zetian was finally forced to abdicate. Age, illness, and rebellion surrounded her throne. She died soon after, quietly, in her sleep, surrounded by the very silence she once used as punishment. But her legend refused to die. Her tomb at Qianling remains unique, the only imperial tomb in Chinese history without an inscription. No name, no title, no epitaph. Just 2 words carved into stone: holy and divine. Was it humility? Or one final game, daring history itself to fill in the blanks? As you leave the Forbidden City, the night air carries a strange stillness. The crimson walls glow faintly beneath the last light of dusk, like embers refusing to die. You pause for a moment, listening. The echo of footsteps fades behind you, but the silence feels alive, as if the palace itself is breathing. Somewhere deep within these ancient walls, the scent of sandalwood still lingers. The faint rustle of silk, the soft echo of a woman's laugh, too distant to place, too real to ignore. For more than 1,000 years, her name has haunted these corridors. Wu Zetian, the woman who ruled as emperor and made fear her most loyal servant. Historians still argue who she truly was. Some call her the brilliant reformer who opened the doors of government to scholars and women alike, who strengthened China's empire and culture. Others call her the most ruthless ruler the dynasty ever saw, a master manipulator who poisoned, silenced, and erased anyone who stood in her way. But one truth cuts through every version of her story. Wu Zetian understood that fear lasts longer than violence. Violence ends when the blade falls. Fear endures in memory. It lingers in the minds of those who witnessed it, twisting itself into stories, legends, and nightmares that survive centuries after the blood has dried. That was her true genius. She didn't just rule an empire, she ruled time itself. Her punishments were not carved in flesh, they were carved in silence. She made men confess without chains. She made enemies destroy themselves. She turned love into suspicion and loyalty into obedience. And even now, long after her tomb was sealed, her shadow stretches across history like a whisper that refuses to fade. When archaeologists entered her buried palaces in Luoyang, they found murals, thousands of tiny painted eyes covering the walls. Some said they were symbols of power, the Empress watching over her empire. Others believed they were reminders to her courtiers, that even in death she still sees. A few of those who worked in the ruins told quiet stories, of hearing faint breaths in empty corridors, or a soft voice murmuring behind them when they were alone. Perhaps it was the wind, or perhaps it was history itself, reminding them that fear has no grave, because power like hers never truly dies. It only changes shape. And in every place where silence holds authority, in palaces, in governments, in the quiet obedience of those too afraid to speak, her spirit still lingers. You look back one last time at the Forbidden City. The red walls rise against the dark sky, solemn, eternal, and for a fleeting moment, you imagine her standing there, watching, her eyes calm and knowing. A whisper drifts through the air, almost too soft to catch. "Do you still fear me?" The sound fades. The screen turns black. Somewhere, the silence answers, yes, because some doors in history were never meant to be opened.